In the remote mountain village, where morning mist danced between ancient pine trees, there lived a young blacksmith's apprentice who had always felt different from everyone else. While other teenagers in the village were content with their daily routines, this particular youth often gazed at the distant peaks, feeling an unexplained pull towards something greater. The apprentice's unusual nature wasn't just a feeling. There were signs. Eyes that glowed with a faint blue light in complete darkness, plants that seemed to whisper secrets when walked past, and dreams filled with visions of crystal caves and ancient guardians. The village elders noticed these peculiarities but said nothing, as if they were waiting for something to unfold. Everything changed on the night of the blood moon, when crimson light bathed the entire valley in an otherworldly glow. Unable to sleep, the young apprentice wandered into the forest, drawn by an irresistible urge to explore the forbidden caves high in the mountains. The cave system was vast and ancient, with passages that seemed to stretch endlessly into the earth's heart. Following a strange inner compass, the youth ventured deeper than anyone from the village had ever dared. The air grew thick with magic, and crystalline formations began to appear on the walls, pulsing with soft, rhythmic light. At the deepest chamber, a sight beyond imagination awaited. A crystal the size of a grown person stood in the center of the cavern, its faceted surface containing what looked like captured starlight. The moment it was touched, the world exploded into visions. Ancient battles between forces of light and shadow flashed before startled eyes. A great darkness spreading across countless worlds, turning everything to stone and ash, and most importantly, a prophecy about a guardian who would rise when the balance between light and dark was threatened. "You have finally arrived," spoke a voice that seemed to come from the crystal itself. The chamber filled with gentle radiance, and a figure materialized, a being of pure light energy, ancient beyond measure. "I am the keeper of the old knowledge," the entity explained. "For 1,000 years, I have waited for someone with the right heart to become the new crystal guardian. The time has come when darkness stirs once more." The young apprentice backed away in shock. "There must be some mistake. I'm nobody special, just someone who works in the forge and dreams too much." "The crystal of eternal balance never chooses wrong," the light being replied with gentle certainty. "You have always felt the pull, because you were born for this purpose. But know that accepting this role means leaving your old life behind." Before an answer could be given, the ground trembled violently. Through the cave entrance came sounds of terror, screams from the village below. Dark creatures were attacking, beings of pure shadow that froze everything they touched with their icy presence. Without hesitation, the apprentice grasped the crystal. Power unlike anything ever imagined flowed through young veins. The crystal's light blazed outward, and suddenly there was knowledge of how to shape that energy into shields, weapons, and protective barriers. Racing back toward the village, the newly awakened guardian arrived to find chaos. Shadow creatures swarmed through the streets like living nightmares, turning people to stone statues with their touch. Houses crumbled under waves of supernatural cold, and the very air itself seemed to be dying. The crystal's power responded to pure intention. Light burst forth, creating a protective dome over the entire village. The shadow creatures shrieked and recoiled, but they didn't retreat. They regrouped, circling the barrier like wolves around a campfire. "You cannot hold us back forever, young guardian," spoke a voice that seemed to come from the darkness itself. "We are legion, and you are alone. Surrender the crystal." and your people will be spared." But the guardian had no intention of surrendering. Drawing deeper on the crystal's power, the protective dome expanded, pushing the creatures back. However, with each use of the crystal's energy, there was a cost. Life force was being drained away with every pulse of light. The Keeper of Knowledge appeared again, visible only to the guardian. "The crystal's power is infinite, but your mortal body can only channel so much. You must find the source of these creatures, and stop them there, or the effort will consume you completely." Following the shadow creature's trail led to a dark fortress that had materialized on the highest mountain peak. A structure that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. This was clearly the stronghold of whatever force commanded the attacking shadows. The journey to the fortress was perilous. Shadow creatures attacked in waves, each battle requiring more of the crystal's power to survive. The guardian learned to shape light into wings for flight, swords for combat, and healing energy for the wounds inflicted by claws of living darkness. At the fortress gate stood the Shadow King himself, a towering figure whose form shifted constantly between solid darkness and swirling void. His presence was so overwhelming that reality itself seemed to bend around him. "So, the crystal has found a new guardian." The Shadow King spoke, his voice like grinding stone. "How many have come before you, I wonder? How many have failed to understand the futility of their mission? I won't let you destroy my world," the guardian declared, raising the crystal high. Its light pushed back the oppressive darkness, creating a small sphere of hope in the heart of despair. A Shadow King laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Destroy, child, I seek only to bring peace. Perfect, eternal peace where no one suffers, no one struggles, no one dies, because no one lives. Is that not preferable to this endless cycle of pain and joy, hope and disappointment?" For a moment, the guardian hesitated. Peace did sound appealing after seeing so much suffering. But then memories flooded back. A little sister's laughter. Parents working together in harmony. Village festivals where everyone celebrated life's simple pleasures. "That's not peace," came the firm response. "That's emptiness. Life has meaning because it contains both light and shadow, joy and sorrow, hope and challenge." The final battle began in earnest. The Shadow King's power was immense, accumulated over millennia of conquest. Waves of darkness crashed against barriers of light like ocean waves against cliffs. The fortress itself became a battleground where reality warped and twisted under the clash of opposing forces. The guardian fought with everything. Light shaped into countless forms, crystal energy channeled through pure will, and most importantly, love for everything worth protecting. But gradually, the Shadow King's superior experience began to show. The attacks became more precise, the darkness more overwhelming. In the moment when defeat seemed certain, understanding dawned. The crystal pulsed with a different kind of energy, and suddenly, the guardian could see the Shadow King's true nature. Beneath all that darkness was not evil, but profound loneliness and ancient pain. "You weren't always like this," the guardian said, lowering the crystal instead of raising it for another attack. "Something hurt you so deeply that you decided feeling nothing was better than feeling pain." The Shadow King's assault paused. "What do you know of loss, young one? I was once a guardian like you, protecting a world I loved. But I failed. Everyone I cared about died while I watched helplessly. The pain was unbearable." Instead of pressing the attack, the guardian stepped closer. "I'm sorry for your loss, but ending all feeling everywhere won't bring them back. It will just ensure that no one else ever experiences the joy they brought to your life. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Shadow King's form stopped shifting. You would show compassion to your enemy. You're not my enemy, the Guardian replied gently. You're someone who's been in pain for so long you've forgotten what healing feels like. The crystal began to glow with a new kind of light, not the harsh brilliance of battle, but the warm radiance of understanding. This light touched the Shadow King, and for a moment, his darkness flickered, revealing the guardian he had once been. I remember now, he whispered, his voice losing its harsh edge. They used to laugh. My people used to sing during harvest time. The children would ask me to make light sculptures in the evening sky. You can have that again. The guardian offered. Not the same people, not the same world, but the same capacity for joy. Help me protect the balance instead of trying to eliminate it. The Shadow King. No. The fallen guardian looked at his hands as if seeing them for the first time in centuries. Is redemption truly possible after so much darkness? The crystal believes in second chances, came the gentle reply. And so do I. In that moment of choice, the Shadow King made his decision. Instead of continuing the battle, he reached out and touched the crystal of eternal balance. The moment their energies merged, the fortress of darkness began to transform. The crystal split into two perfect halves, one blazing with pure light, the other shimmering with gentle darkness. Both were necessary for true balance. The fortress became a temple dedicated to harmony, and the shadow creatures transformed into guardians of the night, protectors of rest and peaceful dreams. The two guardians, light and shadow, returned to the village together. The people who had been turned to stone came back to life, and the damage to their homes was repaired by the balanced energy of both crystals working in harmony. A new age began in the valley. The young guardian built a shrine where both crystals rested side by side. Their combined energies, ensuring that neither overwhelming light nor consuming darkness could threaten the world again. The former Shadow King became a teacher, helping others understand that darkness wasn't evil. It was simply part of the natural cycle of existence. Children were no longer afraid of the dark, because they learned that nighttime brought rest, privacy, and the peaceful silence needed for dreams. Similarly, they didn't become overwhelmed by too much light, because they understood the need for balance in all things. The guardian's role evolved beyond just protecting the village. People came from distant lands seeking wisdom about maintaining balance in their own lives. How to find peace between work and rest. How to appreciate both celebration and solitude. How to embrace both hope and acceptance. Years passed, and the guardian aged. But the crystal's power remained constant. When the time came to pass on the responsibility, there wasn't just one successor, but two, one drawn to the light crystal, another to the shadow crystal. The balance would be maintained not by a single guardian, trying to hold both forces, but by two working in harmony. The village became a place of pilgrimage, where people came to learn that true wisdom lay not in choosing between light and darkness, but in understanding how both were necessary for a complete life. The shrine's gentle glow could be seen from great distances, a beacon reminding travelers that balance was always possible, no matter how chaotic the world might seem. And so the Crystal Guardian's legacy lived on, not just in the protection of one small village, but in the spreading understanding that the greatest strength comes from embracing all aspects of existence, finding harmony between opposites, and never giving up hope that even the darkest heart can remember how to feel light again. The crystals still shine there today. They say, waiting for anyone who needs to remember that balance is not about perfection, but about the continuous, beautiful dance between all the forces that make life worth living.